Hello, Missouri educators. This video will discuss the implications of Missouri's EL indicator. That's part of the Missouri's ESSA Federal Accountability Plan. If you haven't had a chance, there is a video that describes how you calculate Missouri's EL indicator available on the ELD Collaborative YouTube channel. Just as a review, the EL indicator is made up of two separate parts. First is progress, which is 75% of the total. That is the progress that students make on the yearly Access for EL's assessment. It's typically taken in January or February each year. This measure is to ensure that students are making adequate yearly gains in English language proficiency. The other one is the proficiency measure. Again, that's using the Access for ELs. That's taken every January or February, and this measure is to ensure that students are ultimately reaching proficiency. The goal of EL programs is that students grow and that they get to the point where they are able to perform in an a classroom where English is a language of instruction, and are able to perform on state assessments. So what is the Access for English Learners? This assessment measures a student's ability to speak, understand, or listen, read, and write for instructional and social purposes in school, in language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. So think everything that could happen in a school. They have performance definitions. The test will result in a score from 1 to 6, and these scores represent the predictable stages of second language acquisition. It also includes overall discourse, so how well students put together their language for the overall message, how well they put together their sentences, and how well they use vocabulary. So it's all inclusive of the language that the students are producing and understanding. It goes from generic social language at the bottom of the scale to specific, if not technical, academic language at the higher levels of the scale. So whenever you're looking at your program and what supports you provide to students, you need to be aware of what are the demands at each level. It highlights the need for frequent practice, speaking, listening, reading, and writing in all content areas. So this is, think from anything the child does at school. The moment they show up to the moment they go home. Sometimes they show up before school, but everything the child does during the school day is a part of this. So what are the implications? These scores will help you determine the effectiveness, first and foremost, the comprehensive educational program for language learners. This involves every class all day. Every teacher is a language teacher. Everyone is responsible for language growth for their students. It also, to an extent, and this is very closely related to the comprehensive educational program, it's the district's language instruction educational program. If you're unfamiliar with that term, it's the program model that you are implementing, whether that's pulling students out, co-teaching, sheltered instruction, a combination of them. Think about the level of collaboration with the specialists. If you have a specialist, are they pulling students out? Are they a part of your school culture? Do they get out and work with the teachers to help modify instruction, provide supports, all of those things? So there is a myth out there that the EL indicator is accountability for EL specialists. This is not the case. The EL indicator is accountability for the entire school building, for the entire instructional program, what experience English learners have in the school all day, every class all day. You can use this data to make data-informed decisions around the direction of your EL program. You can start by looking at how well your students perform at each proficiency level compared with other students in Missouri. There are growth charts available where you can plot each student's growth and you can identify trends, which proficiency levels are meeting the expectations and which are not. If all of your students on the lower end of the scale are meeting the expectations, but the students on the higher end of the scale are not, you want to look at different things for those levels. Students who are in the higher ranges of English proficiency, think the levels 3 or a 4, their needs are specific academic language related to the content areas. It's not so much the basic instructional language anymore. On the other hand, if your students in the middle ranges of the 3 and 4s are meeting the expectations, but the students at the lower end of the scale are not making the expectations, that can help you decide where the focus should be. You can also use this for program evaluations. Is the EL special in your building? Is the EL specialist the sole person responsible for English language development, or do all teachers see themselves as language teachers? Do all teachers provide support, scaffolding, and understand how to work with their English learners? Again, this is to ensure that English learners are receiving a quality education from the time they show up to school until the time they go home. If you are interested in making improvements, you can contact your MEL instructional specialists. We have 5 in Missouri. You can see the regions on the map, and they are housed at the regional RPDCs. These specialists are trained to work with you to help improve your language instruction educational programs and make a difference for all English learners across Missouri. Thank you for tuning in.